Good morning, Internet. This is Alex the Sudoku, and it is Friday, September 11th today. And so I hope, I don't know, anyone who's been affected feels okay. So let's dive into another medium New York Times Sudoku to kind of cheer ourselves up off the misery of the world. And we're going to do some Snyder notations. I didn't switch to candidate mode to start with, so we're looking at the ones first, and we're going to cycle through 1 to 9, and if we can place any pencil markings of candidates in 2s in each cage, we're going to pencil mark them in. If we have more than 2 candidates, then we're not going to put anything in. If we've only got 1 candidate, we'll actually write in the correct number. So with that in mind, I've got 2 here looking into this cage, which forces the 2 to be here, forming what's called a pointed triple, I suppose. Basically, 2 has to go in this row within this cage, therefore it can't go in this row outside the cage, forcing the 2 in the top row here. So let's move on. I've got a pair of 3s here, because of these 3s, and these 3s locks a pair of 3s over here as well. So all we're doing is really just going around the board and eliminate possible candidates within any cage, and if that leaves us with 2 candidates left, we're going to put them there. But whenever we have these pointed pairs where they're along the same row or column within a cage, then we know that they eliminate all possible candidates on the same row or column outside the cage, basically, and that's how we allow ourselves to deduce more values than available, basically. So we have another 4 here, because these 2 4s take up the columns and that 4 takes up the row. Anything else for us? No, not on the 4s, I don't think, but 5s, we can place a 5 there, because that 5 takes the row and that 5 takes the column, and that forces another 5 in these 2 cells, but I've got a 5 over here. So, and this is the advantage of Snyder notations. When you eliminate a pencil marking, since we only pencil mark anything where there are 2 candidates within the cage, if we eliminate one, we know that the other must be the final candidate, the final possible position, basically. So whenever I fill in numbers, what I like to do is see the influence on the rest of the cages. So in this case, this 1 influences this column on cage 4, and that forces another 1 in there. So now that I've placed another 1, I would like to see if it has any influence horizontally, because vertically all the cages are completed, but I can't see anything. If we're smart, what we can do as well is, when you have these kind of formations, you get to know what kind of formations you want to look out for, but in this case, essentially, we're only left with 1 row and 1 column left in kind of like overlapping, I guess, within a cage. What I mean by that is, look at this 2 there. This 2 blocks the 2 cells horizontally, the horizontal cells, and that forces the 2 in a vertical alignment. So that's basically what I'm looking for. And this creates a pointer pair of 2s. So it forces a 2 in these 2 cells up here. It basically locks the column 2, and since I've already got row 1 and 3 blocked, I'm able to place 2 candidates. Similarly, I can place the 2s down here because of that 2, and these pointed 2s looking down. So looking at, continue on this row, I've got 2, 5, 1 and 8. Well, I've already done 2, and 1, 5 and 8 are already in the cage, so I can't create any more pointed pairs. Similarly, looking downwards on this column, you may lock a number in the remaining cell on the horizontal block. But again, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, they're already in the cage, so I can't do anything with that. So anyway, so that was, I pencil marked in the 2s from the 1s. I'm going to rewind back to the 1 that I had before and see if it has any influence. Similarly, we have a vertical and horizontal block intersecting. So let's see, the 8 sees into the cage, creating a pointer pair of 8s over there. So that in turn forces an 8 in this cell, because I've got an 8 looking to the 2 columns, and this pointer pair basically leaves me one possible candidate. So I'm going to follow the breadcrumbs. I'm going to follow the 8. The 8 forces the pair of 8s over here. Does that do anything else? No, it doesn't. So rewind back to the 8 and rewind back to the 1. I'm looking at this cage again now, so what else can I do in this cage? Well, this horizontal line sees a 4, so that forces a pair of 4s over here. Again, I'm going to follow the 4s. It looks down, forces a pair of 4s down here, and then I can't do anything else with that, so I'm going to rewind back up. Looking at this cage, looking at this 1, and looking at this 5, because I placed the 5 earlier from, I think, these 2 5s maybe? I'm not too sure. But either way, this 5 also forces a 5 in this cell. So now I'm going to follow the 5, and these 2 5s locks a 5 down here, because these 2 5s have already locked the rows. So I think most of the 5s are done. I'm going to rewind back. In fact, yeah, I think that's all the 5s done. So as an example, this cage is basically 2 columns and I guess possibly 1 row on top of that. So there's no point in looking at this cage. In here I've got 2 columns or 2 rows, however you want to look at it, and 1 other, so there's nothing I can do. Here I've got 2 rows, so there's some potential here. So if I just look at 1, 5 and 4, that locks a pair of 4s up here because of that 4. And that 4 is useful because it eliminates that 4, giving us another 4 down here. But I've already used that pointer pair of 4s to look down, so I can't do anything else with the 4s. However, I've created 2 cells on this row, and there are only 2 possible candidates left, and they are 8 and 9s. So let's pencil mark them in, because we can't actually tell which one is the 8, which one is the 9. And by filling those in, that now basically dictates that 8 and 9 can only go in these 2 cells. It forms what's called a matching pair. Basically, no other numbers can go in there, and these numbers can't go outside these 2 cells. I'll probably do a video just explaining that concept at some point as well, and then I can just reference that later on. But basically it means these 2 cells are now the only ones in play, and they have to be the 3s and 7s. So I've kind of like done a lot, and I've actually lost track of where I was in terms of the chain, the breadcrumbs that I was following. I think it was an 8 that led me to here, but I think I'm gonna kind of like restart, because I've done too many things now from that single 5. I'm gonna have a look at the rest of the 5s, and I'm gonna find another 5 here because of these 2 5s, and these 2 5s on the rows locks the final 5 in that position. So all the 5s are now done. Let's just look at 6s now. So that 6 locks, and that 6 locks a pair of 6s down here, and that forms a pointer pair of 6s. But I've got 3 possible places for the 6 to be in this cage, so I'm not going to pencil mark them in. I've got another 6 up here because of these 2 6s, and now these 2 6s locks a 6 over here, and now that's useful because that locks a pair of 6s here, creating a pointer pair. It locks the cage now. I've got 2 columns eliminated, leaving me with just 2 possible candidates. But this pointer pair of 6s sees into that cell actually, so 6 can only go in this cell. And that's really useful because remember what we said, when we eliminate a number, we force it in the other possible cell. Actually 7 shouldn't be there. So I just placed a 6 and eliminated a 2, so that forces a 2 in the other cell, and that eliminates a 3, forcing it in here. So now suddenly this cage is a lot healthier. There are only 3 possible candidates left. They are 4, 8 and 7. So I can already see 7. These 2 7s lock these 2 cells. So 7 has to go there, 4 has to go here, and 8 has to go there. So now 8 is locked in these 2 cells, 4 is locked in these 2 cells, 7 is locked in these 2 cells, as well as this cell. Anything else I can do? Yep. So now, this 2, I didn't eliminate the pencil marking up here, so 2 is forced in, and that forces the 8 in here as well. So now we have one cell left on this column, and it is a 9, so let's place that. And that 9 on this row forces another matching pair, because I've only got 2 candidates left, and I've only got 2 cells left as well. So these are 3s and 7s, and that creates a matching pair, forcing another matching pair in here, which are 9s and 4s. So that's quite good going, I think. And I think I was working on 6s before, so we've done a fair bit with the 6s, so let's have a quick look to see if that solves all the 6s actually. So it doesn't. We've got 3 possible candidates here for the 6. So let's look at 7s now. 7s, I've got a pair of 7s there. 7, 7. Nothing on 7s, so what about 8s? 8, 8. So I've got 3 possible 8s down here. Let's not touch that. Let's look at 9s instead. 9s, I have a feeling we're not going to get anything on 9s either, because I think we have very few 9s on the board. So I've just gone through 1 to 9, doing as many pencil markings as I can, and I've basically run out of things to do. So what I can do now is 2 things. One is to look at weak areas, so that's a weak area. I've got the 2 matching pairs here, locking the 2s and 7 in here, and any other candidates out of these 2 cells. So that forces this to be a 3 and 8. So this is basically a step where I look at all the areas where there are only 2 or 3 cells left. So this is another weak area of 3. So if I look at it, I'm missing the numbers 1, 9 and 1, 9 and 3. So one thing that's useful is I can tell the 3 can't go in this cell because 3s are locked in these 2 cells already. And I think I made that deduction early on, but either way, 3s are actually 4s. Oh yeah, I found that deduction because of the 2s and 7s. So it locks the pair of 3s in these 2 cells. So if I look at 1s, 1 can go in these 2 cells, and 9 are free roaming in all 3 cells, so we can't actually place any of the 3 numbers yet. But one thing that's a little bit more advanced in terms of techniques is if we look at the 3s in these 2 cages, the 3s can only be, the 3s are locked in columns 8 and 9 in both of these 2 cages, so it can't go in the column 7 in these 2 cages, which means on the final cage, the 3 has to be in this column. It has to be in column 7. Well, since I've already placed the candidates for 3, it means where this column overlaps with the 3 must be where the 3 is, basically. And since 3 currently is pencil marked in 2 columns, I can eliminate that 3, basically, because it has to be in columns 8 and 9. Therefore, 3 has to go in here now. So I've just resolved the 3 and the 7. And this 7 allows me to place the 7 pencil markings in here as well. And I can't place the 7 in this cage. So what else can we do? Well, we can have a look at this cage as well. I suppose I have a suspicion that... Oh, actually, I was being blinded anyway when I placed the 3s, because the 3 can't go in this cell anyway. So that places a 3 there. And that also resolves the 3 and 7 up there. And that 7 now, hopefully... yep, the 7 eliminates that 7, forcing the 7 in there, which forces a 2 in there. And now that 2 eliminates that 2, resolving the 2 here, eliminates that 2, forces a 2 there, forces a 6 there. So now all the 2s are done, and I have only 1 number left in this cage, and it's a 9. So we're starting to look a bit healthier with the 9s. So that's formed... that's done a fair few things, actually. So let's look at this cage first, because I've only got 3 cells available, And if I quickly look out, I'm looking for 1, 4 and 9. Well, I can see a 1 here looking into that cell, so 1s have to be down here, and that forms another matching pair. So the remaining number in the cage must go there, and that's the 9. And placing that 9 leaves me with just one cell and one candidate left on this row, which is the 1 there. So that 1 also helps me place a pair of 1s over here. That one locks the columns, and this one locks the row. What else can I do? Well, now may be worth looking at this cage, because I've only got four numbers, and in fact this column only has one candidate left, one cell left, and it has to be the 4. And this 4 erases the 4 over there, forcing the 4 in there, which erases the 1, which forces the 1 there. And I think yep, this one now forces the 1 in there, which means 1 can't go in here, 1 has to go in there, and that forces the 4 over there. So now all the 1s are done, and if we continue on the path, the 4 eliminates the 4 over there, forces the 4 and 9 to be there. And now I've only got 1 cell left in both of these columns. So this one has to be a 7, and this one has to be a 9. The 7 eliminates that 7 candidate, forcing the 7 here, so all the 7s are done now as well. This 9 forces the 9 to be in these 2 cells, and if I look down here in the bottom cage, these 9s actually force a 9 in here as well. So I've got a similar situation where 9s are locked in columns 7 and 9 in 2 separate cages. That means 9 has to be in column 8 in the middle cage, so that resolves the 9 and the 3, and that 3 eliminates that 3, forcing the 3 and 8, and that 8 forces a 9 in there and the 8 over here. This 9 forces the 9 over there and 6 over here. And finally we only have 6 and 8 to place, and we can place them in there. So that is today's New York Times medium Sudoku. I hope that's been helpful. I've kind of gone through quite a few relatively advanced tactics there today, so if that's kind of too fast, please let me know in the comments below. But either way, I really appreciate a like and a subscribe, so I can hopefully get more views on my channel and get more feedback, and hope to help more people starting out on Sudokus. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow. Bye!